Alright lads, so Bleach so Resident has officially released globally, and with that, as it is a new game, you might be wondering, how does this game work? What should I be looking out for? What should I be focusing as I progress through the game? But at the same time, what are some of the things that I should know when starting Bleach so Resonance to get the most out of this particular game? So with that in mind, here is a quick beginner's guide to Bleach so Resonance. So first up, and we are probably going to have to make a separate video on how to build characters to the best they can potentially be, but one of the best beginner advices I can give is this particular button at the bottom left. This is really good for showcasing how the character is supposed to be used, what should you be upgrading / prioritizing, and how to even build the character in a team lineup. They give two examples, one with SRs and also one with SSRs. So in this case, if you are using Bankai Ichigo, it's going to be really good to have Uryu and also Yachiru in the team, as they do make Ichigo better. But of course, there is going to be a premium alternative, and this will always include SSR characters. In this case, the best team that you can build of Ichigo is Ichigo, Byakuya, and also Kisuke. Below that, it's going to showcase the best items to use for Weapon Stamp, Core Stamp, and also Set Stamp. Now, there are 3 different stamps. Again, likely you have to break those down in an individual video, but the idea is that every character has their own weapon stamp and own specific core stamp. The weapon stamp can be summoned in-game. They are guaranteed in 40 summons. Personally, I do have Ichigo. They offer 50% more weapon stats, while also giving them more effects. In the case for Ichigo, more crit rate and more damage on his special attack. Like I said, there is an alternative, an SR alternative, which is widely available if you do a few summons in this game. You can even select it for free when starting the game, and this one offers more slash damage. 15% to be specific. These SR stamps are good enough at the start, but of course, ideally, long term, you do want to focus on trying getting the character's weapon stamp. There is also then, again, a core stamp. This is farmable through an event. These overall offer more stats to their basic stat and offer more effects. In the case for Ichigo right now, he gets more damage, an extra attack when he does activate his Hollow Fight modes. Once more, there is an SR alternative, which is this particular one. And then, of course, we also do have the Set Stamp set. They recommend this Rising Black Moon effect, which can increase the character's damage output, the attack, and more special attack damage when he does use a technique. Anytime you click on anything in this game, there is always a guide on where to find it. So in the case for the set stamps, you can find them in the Realm of Mutation event. For the core stamp, you can find that in the stamp corridor. And for the weapon stamp, you can find that, of course, in the gacha system. And that can pretty much be applied to everything in this game. For example, if I wanted to ascend the character, I'm going to need this particular item. Well, I can find that in the /ascension screen. Fortunately for us too, once you complete the event one time, you can then just press the raid button to instantly complete the quest once more. That way you don't need to replay the event, even though you can beat it pretty easy. That's going to overall save you a lot of time. And like I said, that is seen in every part of the game, including these items right here, where you want to level up the character's skills. Now, one important thing I think you should keep in mind when you are playing with characters is keep in mind their passives, because it's very important when it comes to building the character and also the team. Every character, at least as of right now, has access to 4 passives. They have their core passive, which is available right from the get-go, and then they do unlock more passives the more you level up the character. So I do recommend clicking on every node for the most part, so you do know exactly what the character does offer. Even in a situation like this, for example, where they mention holification, you might be wondering, what exactly is a holification? Or maybe the better example would be Getsuga Mark. Well, if you click on it, it does tell you Getsuga Mark, Ichigo's technique, that is his first skill, more on that later, inflicts Getsuga Mark on the target. And with that, his special attack will then prioritize those marked enemies. So whenever the game does use terminology like that in a character's kit, you can always click on that particular text to just understand what that does mean. Using Yachiru as an example, right? She does offer 7.5% more slash damage when the character already has inspiration. Well, what's inspiration? When you click on it, it says after releasing the ultimate or having a certain amount of ultimate energy, Yachiru will provide a 6-second 10% slash damage boost. So really cool system for you to get to know the character, understand some of the game's jargon without really having to watch a video like this in a way. But with that, one thing I want to focus on for the next section of the video is the character descriptions. So what you're going to see is every character, of course, is going to have their own typing. Ichigo is a slash type, indicated by this red icon. This is important to know because depending on the quest or game mode or event that you are playing, it does recommend certain type of characters. Most of the main story is going to recommend you to bring red and yellow characters, more specifically red type characters, because every Ichigo in the game is a slash type unit. By bringing a slash type character, you do deal more damage. For story mode, it's not that big of a deal. Honestly, you can bring any character you want, but that is something to keep in mind when playing late game content as of course that will make the event quest game easier, as you will be provided with more damage. So when the game wants you to bring a red character, you want to bring a red character, slash character. So there are 4 typings in the game. There's slash, red, frost, yellow, orange, strike, and also blue, spirit. In a way, when you are building teams, you kind of want to build around that typing. Of course, you can mix and match sometimes, but most of the late game teams, when you are playing end game content, is going to encourage monotyping teams. Now, we will have a team breakdown video going up later today, but again, if you do click on the bottom left button, it's pretty much telling you how to build the character. Ichigo is a slash type unit, so he wants to be used with Byakuya and also Kisuke. Yoruichi is a strike type character, so she wants to be used with Sajin and also Nemu, other strike damage dealers. Now, alongside their typing, characters are also going to have a description about them. In the case for Ichigo, he is full assault. There are 3 different types of characters. There's full assault, there is tactic, and there is support. It's quite self-explanatory. Full assault are DPS focused units. Support characters are support characters. They make your main characters better. Allow for potential bonus damage or healing effects or defensive effects depending on the character. And tactic units are essentially sub-DPS units. In a way, one of the special part about tactic units is what they do offer to the team. So for example, every tactical unit is going to have access to a battlefield skill. And like we are going to touch upon in the team breakdown video that we are going to post later today, the best teams that you can use, it's pretty important that every team wants to have a tactic unit. Because in the case right now with Rukia, just by having her in the team with 2 other characters, everyone in the team is getting 15% more damage. Very important. It also does come with, again, extra effects. And that's going to be this particular button that will be featured on the left side of the screen when you are in combat. These battlefield attacks or skills do build up over time without even needing to use a character like Rukia. And it is important to read what they do offer because each character does offer a different battlefield skill. SRs are quite simple. They just offer 15% more damage and they are encouraging you to use any character, which is really good. And that's why a lot of people do recommend using Ruki and Uryu. Now, when it comes to SSRs, they are a bit more restrictive because Kaname, for example, an SSR tactical unit, does want you to use Kaname, 2 other characters, but you need to make sure you have 2 Frost characters in the team. When you meet all those requirements, the team gets 30% more Frost damage. And there is an SSR alternative for every typing, strike, slash, Frost, and of course, in the future, Spirit. Now, if we quickly switch out Ichigo, I do want to go with some terminology that you might be a bit confused by. If a character isn't a tactical unit, especially if they are a full assault unit, they are then going to come with an additional attack that you can use in-game. So, for example, let's use SR Ichigo. So let's quickly describe each attack here. So this is simple. It's the dodge attack. This is the counter. You always want to counter when a character appears purple in the game. So, for example, it does look like that. Whenever a character does appear purple, if you do the parry at the right time, you counter them, and every character does have a counter attack that can offer effects, but the main reason why you are going to want to counter is to lower their blue gauge at the bottom. So if Kaname keeps attacking us, Ikaku keeps attacking us. You can also break the character's guard, is what we, I guess, can call it, by naturally attacking the enemy. But the best way to do it is to hit those parries. When you do that, you enter spiritual pressure dissipation, I believe is what they call it. And that means the character can be staggered. You basically get 3 hits onto the character, and you also then deal more damage. So really good for boss fights. You always want to make sure you are taking advantage of those parries, because it makes it so you do the most amount of damage. Now, when you are reading a character description, you might see the term technique. What is a technique? Well, every character has one technique, and that is their skill. We normally call it skill, but whenever you see the name or something referred to a technique, it means this particular skill right here, the very first one. Their second skill, I guess we can call it, is of course going to have a longer cooldown. It's going to take a lot longer to get, but also have a much more powerful effect. In the case for this Ichigo right here, just does a bunch of slashes, super simple. This particular skill is called an ultimate, so once more, if you are reading a character's passive, or in a future video I refer to something as an ultimate, it is referring to this particular button right here. Now, every character, if you aren't a battlefield unit, most full assault characters are going to have a button or an effect at the bottom left. In the case of Ichigo, it is a Historipa badge. This is a spiritual pressure meter. So once more, if you see the term spiritual pressure being used, it is always referring to this button in the bottom left. You get this by manually just attacking with the character. And every character is going to have a different spiritual pressure effect. But every character activates it the same way. When it's full, you'll see in the bottom right, the basic attack button is now glowing. And if I hold down that button, well, then you do a special effect. While we're at it, again, going to the battlefield skill, you can see here, it's now glowing. If I press that button, Rukia comes in and does an effect. Every character, battlefield unit basically does the same thing. Different effect, but they always come in and deal damage. Using Yoruichi as an example, she's a very similar character. As you can see, as we attack with her, we are building up their bottom meter, the spiritual pressure gauge. And once that does activate, we can hold down the attack button, and we can do a special attack. And that is pretty much the spiritual pressure meter. And also at the same time, that pretty much describes the main mechanics for this game. So if a character doesn't have a battlefield skill, likely they are going to have a spiritual pressure meter, which does allow them to have a special effect. But some characters, to be fair, don't always have something like that. And Bankai Ichigo is one of those characters, because you'll see it, right, as we use this unit, the character is building up a meter, but that meter is actually tied behind his ultimate. So this is more so regarding transformation units. Ichigo is pretty much the only transforming unit in the game, which is technically one, but it does work differently. And I believe Kenpachi, when he does release in the future, will be very similar. So in regards to Ichigo, he also does have a unique effect. They are called special attacks. I'm not sure if I have referred it to that, but those hold down the button when the spiritual pressure gauge is full. It's called a special attack. Ichigo's special attack is used when you attack 3 times and don't attack anymore. So again, 1, 2, 3. You'll see there's a little spark effect. So we 1, 2, 3, then attack. He does this slash. That is his special attack. Since his spiritual pressure meter is tied behind the ultimate, which is a transformation effect, he in a way does have an alternate attack path, which is this. If you just attack normally, the character just does that. So in regards to transformations, they are some of the better effects in the game. So in the case for Ichigo, he does activate his Hollow Mask, which is really cool. And Ichigo's all about doing special attacks. So every time you do use a Getuga, you can follow that up with a special attack. And you can see the spiritual pressure gauge at the bottom is going down. Once it does reach 0, you then activate the ultimate, which is called an ultimate death blow, and you just deal a lot of damage. So that's pretty much the core gameplay for most characters. You have your technique, your ultimate, your counter, flash step, basic attack. Some characters have special attacks, which again is indicated when the special attack does start to glow yellow. Tactical units are a must-have in every team. Rukia is one of them. Lets you do an extra attack. In the case of Rukia, she can sometimes freeze. But the main reason why you want to use a tactical character is to get that bonus damage. It's 50% for every character if you're using an SR, but 30% if you are using an SSR. Now, I guess a bonus effect here is with Yachiru. If we do it, switch her out, we do get a attack boost, and you can see it right here. So if you want to know when an effect is, what an effect does, you can again click on it. But when effects are on a timer like this one, for example, you can see that it is counting down. So when you are, again, playing endgame and are trying to maximize your damage output, working around with your boost effects, your buff effects, pay attention to the bottom of the screen. While we are at the bottom of the screen too, if it also helps, you do see a yellow bar. That is the ultimate gauge, and you also can see that on the characters. In the case for Yachiru, as she does spectate over on the left, she does naturally build her ultimate gauge. So you can use that yellow bar to keep track of when your sub-DPS characters or supports are going to have their effect. And you can actually activate that ultimate without switching into them. It does, of course, switch into them, but it does allow them to instantly activate their ultimate. Keep in mind, given the way the team does work, or characters do work in this game, essentially only having one attack button besides their ultimate, you do want to build teams with the idea of switching in. So you never want to have a character on the field for too long. You always want to be switching in, using skills, switching out, providing effects for your character. But other than that, I think that pretty much covers the simple beginner's guide, pretty much everything you need to know regarding the core concepts of Bleach Soul Resonance. Of course, there is definitely more to talk about, and if you do like these type of videos, make sure you subscribe. We are going to be going in depth with character building, how to build teams, best teams that you can make, while also going over some of the other game modes that Bleach Soul Resonance does have to offer. If you did like the video, make sure you support by liking it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, and peace.